have a grain mill at home. Can I just use a credit card to set the gap?
Sure, you definitely can, and that'll get you more towards a coarse mill. If you want to go finer than that, you could slowly roll it in. But best thing to do is get feeler gauges so you could actually really get it in there. I think it's like 0.43, 0.34 is what we're shooting for, but credit card works great. It's perfect to get you right, at the start of a course on your way to fine.
But let's talk about it. Is that perfect? Every grain go through that same exact gap?
It's not perfect. We talked about the assortment size earlier, so some kernels are plumper, some are thinner. Some of those thinner ones are probably not going to get fully crushed in that process. So, I mean, like we had mentioned, you want as fine as you can for your system. So that's the key, if you've got a good false bottom, things like that. So credit card's a good start. I think I wrote an article on this, on crushing a mill. Mind the gap, as they say in England, right? You want to mind that gap, but you start around a credit card and start going in a little tighter than that. And you're looking for in your hand, you want to keep those husks intact, maybe in half, and then you want a good maybe 20% powder, 80% coarse material, yeah.
And the right way to do this is to use sieves.
Yeah.
And to weigh it, and we will have more on that coming out in the future, but that is the proper way. That's how we set our grain gaps here. And even then you have practical, efficient, and coarse as the types like pros use, and they have to set it kind of to their equipment. But to answer the question and why I led with that is there is no one size fits all, or we would set these mills gapped already and then you'd never be able to change them because that would be perfect. But we'll show you some images below of the different grain sizes and you'll be able to see like, got it. Frit rye is a much different than a standard 2-row in terms of its size. And then even amongst your base malts, you might have a little more plump than others. So ideally you would change the gap for every kernel. Not everyone does that.
Yeah, not even commercial brewers that I know are not changing every time. One thing that's worth noting, I think, is like everybody gets into this efficiency, and I want to get into like 80, have the most efficient. But a coarse, especially on the homebrew level, a coarse grind is even better because it's on the commercial level. Adding a couple more sacks adds up in money. Adding a pound or two on the homebrew level is not a big problem. So I'd lean more towards a coarse, which a credit card is a great place to start.
And then generally we should probably separate what you're milling. Base malt, coarse, is really where we've been talking about the whole time. Yeah. Specialty malts, especially if you're just extracting flavor and color, a little bit tighter of a grind is often nice, especially if you're trying to get the dark colors out of them or whatnot.
Yeah, they tend to have a smaller kernel size anyways because the moisture's basically been cooked out. Also things like rye, wheat are tinier anyway, so it really just depends on what you're milling, yeah.